What does it take to follow in the footsteps of a legend? That's the question that defined Tim Cook's journey. When he took over Apple from Steve Jobs in 2011, the world watched with cautious curiosity. Could anyone possibly fill the shoes of the man who had reinvented technology, music, and even how we communicate? Yet over a decade later, Cook has not only preserved Apple's magic, he's transformed it into one of the most valuable and socially conscious companies in history. Timothy Donald Cook was born on November 1, 1960, in the small town of Robertsdale, Alabama, a quiet place surrounded by pine forests and a deep sense of community. His father, Donald, worked at a shipyard. His mother, Geraldine, was a pharmacy worker. From an early age, Tim was known for his discipline and focus. While other kids might have dreamed of adventure, Cook was drawn to order, logic, and the satisfaction of getting things right. He graduated second in his class at Robertsdale High School, already showing the quiet drive that would one day define his leadership. After high school, he attended Auburn University, where he earned a degree in industrial engineering in 1982. Auburn was where Cook's fascination with efficiency, systems, and data took root. He wasn't the loudest student, nor the most flamboyant, but he was relentless. His professors remembered him as methodical and curious, always looking for ways to make things work better. After graduating, he joined IBM, one of the titans of the computer age. He spent 12 years there, steadily climbing the corporate ladder. At IBM, he learned the art of operational excellence, how to move products around the world, how to manage supply chains, and how to think globally. His performance was so outstanding that he eventually became the director of North American fulfillment. But despite his success, Cook was restless. He later said that joining IBM was like being part of an efficient machine, but he longed to be part of something that made a deeper human impact. In the mid-1990s, he made a surprising career move, leaving IBM for Compaq, a leading computer manufacturer at the time. But fate had other plans. Not long after, in 1998, Cook received a call from a company that was, frankly, on the verge of collapse: Apple. The company had been struggling with losses, its product lineup confused, and its market share dwindling. Steve Jobs had just returned, determined to save the company he co-founded. When Jobs met Cook, something clicked. Jobs saw in him the discipline and operational mastery that Apple desperately needed. Cook, on the other hand, saw something even more compelling: a vision worth believing in. He later said that joining Apple defied logic, but made perfect sense in his heart. And so, he made what he called the best decision I ever made. When Tim Cook joined Apple as Senior Vice President for Worldwide Operations, the company was bleeding money. Cook quickly identified the core problem: inefficiency. He shut down Apple's own factories and warehouses, outsourcing manufacturing to specialized partners in Asia, especially Foxconn in China. It was a radical shift that not only saved Apple millions, but also laid the foundation for its future dominance. Under Cook's leadership, Apple's supply chain became legendary, one of the most efficient on the planet. When a new iPhone launches today and millions of devices appear in stores worldwide, that seamless orchestration is the result of Cook's vision. Steve Jobs was the artist. Tim Cook was the engineer who made sure the masterpiece could be built and delivered. Cook rose quickly through the ranks. He became Chief Operating Officer, or COO, and often acted as Jobs' right hand. When Jobs' health began to decline due to pancreatic cancer, Cook stepped in to lead during medical leaves of absence. Each time, he proved he could maintain Apple's momentum. Then, on August 24, 2011, came the historic moment. Steve Jobs resigned as CEO, and Tim Cook officially took the helm. Jobs passed away just weeks later, on October 5, 2011. For many, Apple without Jobs felt unimaginable. The world braced for decline. But Cook surprised everyone. Instead of imitating Jobs, he led in his own way: calm, analytical, and deeply human. He focused on collaboration, stability, and inclusivity. He believed that great innovation didn't have to come from chaos or ego, but from a culture of respect and shared purpose. Under his leadership, Apple entered a new era. In 2014, he oversaw the launch of the Apple Watch, marking Apple's first entirely new product line since the iPad. Then came AirPods, Apple Music, Apple Pay, and Apple TV Plus, signaling a strategic shift from hardware towards a more service-oriented ecosystem. These weren't just gadgets, they were gateways into a lifestyle, a seamless digital universe built around trust and design. Financially, Cook's Apple was a juggernaut. The company's market capitalization soared past $1 trillion in 2018, then $2 trillion in 2020, and astonishingly $3 trillion by 2022. But Cook's impact wasn't just economic. He transformed Apple into a leader in corporate responsibility. Cook championed renewable energy, ensuring Apple's facilities run entirely on clean power. He also pushed for stronger human rights and privacy protections, positioning Apple as a moral voice in the tech world. In 2014, Cook made another historic move. He publicly came out as gay, becoming the first openly gay CEO of a Fortune 500 company. He said he did it not for attention, but because he realized how much it could mean to others struggling with their identity. It was a moment of quiet courage that resonated far beyond Silicon Valley. Despite criticism, some accused him of being too cautious or too focused on incremental improvements. Cook's legacy speaks for itself. He took a company that was already iconic and turned it into a global institution of stability, ethics, and design excellence. And yet, Tim Cook remains the same reserved man from Alabama. He wakes up before dawn, starts his day with a workout, and values privacy intensely. He still walks through Apple's halls talking to engineers, designers, and interns alike, always listening, rarely boasting. Those who work with him describe a man who radiates calm, but commands immense respect. Perhaps that's his greatest strength, his humility in the face of power. Where Steve Jobs once burned with vision and defiance, Cook leads with patience and precision. He's not the revolutionary who tore down the walls, he's the architect who ensured the house would stand for generations. When asked once about his legacy, Tim Cook replied simply, "To do things well and to leave things better than you found them." And maybe that's the answer to the question we began with. To follow in the footsteps of a legend, you don't have to walk the same path. You just have to keep moving forward with integrity, purpose, and a vision that serves others. Tim Cook didn't just fill Steve Jobs' shoes. He built an entirely new road for Apple to walk on.